Welcome to a new episode by Flyboys Aviation. Today's episode is about South African Airways. Recently they were in the news because it turned out one of their pilots had been flying for 20 years without the proper license, as required by the airline. Although this was certainly a surprising story, it was definitely not the first time the airline received negative attention in the press. You see, they have been posting huge losses since 2011. The only reason the airline is still flying is because the government is willing to keep pumping money into it. Let's go back in time together to see the development of the airline into the state it is in today. They were founded in 1934. They started with domestic and regional routes. After a cessation of services during World War II, they resumed service. A milestone was reached when they opened their first flights to England at the end of 1945. The jet age arrived early at the airline when they started using de Havilland Comets. When they turned out to be too dangerous to fly, they ordered the Boeing 707. This coincided with expansion to other continents such as Australia and South America. In the 1960s, most countries in Africa started banning the airline from overflying their countries. Their London flights flew around the bulge of Africa to reach their destination. This meant detours of up to 3,000 kilometers. As a result of this, their airplanes needed to have a longer range than most others to reach their destinations. That's why South African Airways was one of the few airlines in the world to operate the long-range Boeing 747 SP. In later years they kept on growing, even though opposition to apartheid meant a great deal of backlash. They also had to stop their flights to Perth and Sydney due to the Australian government boycotting South Africa. With the end of apartheid in the early 90s, tensions on the airline eased. They were able to overfly countries that hadn't allowed them the rights before. Their rebranding in 1997 reflected the new direction the airline was taking, the tails of their aircraft proudly carrying the new national colors. Unfortunately, since that time the airline has been on a downward trajectory. In the last 2 decades, no less than 10 turnaround plans have been presented but were never allowed to come to full fruition. The reason is simple. The South African government owns the airline and refuses to let professionals run the airline. This means constant government intervention that hinders the airline's recovery. That is why they are still stuck with quite a few gas-guzzling A340s. The number of different CEOs the airline has seen is also staggering. The irony of it all is that although the government is to blame for a lot of the problems at the airline, it is also that same government that keeps the airline flying. Without their cash injections, the airline would have vanished long ago. They should take a look at Ethiopian Airlines. Despite the recent crash, they have been incredibly successful even though they are owned by the government. The reason's simple. The government never ever intervenes in that airline. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. On my channel you will find interesting videos that provide some background to the fascinating world of aviation. See you around.